butter my biscuits. Sasaki was actually a pseudo good guy. I was kind of like, why? Gintama, why? I never actually hated the dude. I kind of just always thought he had an offbeat humor to him, so I kind of always didn't really hate him. But this episode kind of made me realize that actually he's not such a bad guy. I was kind of like, it's also one of the only episodes in the history of anime or manga that actually had to go extensively read into the backstories of all the characters to basically get a gist of what I have to talk about. Because there's a freaking damn lot of it. I mean, God, at first I was kind of like, okay, I'm digging this. And then basically when I read into it, it's kind of like, oh, it's that kind of oh moment when you read into something, you're kind of like, okay, I get it now. So what happens is we kind of get through these flashbacks with Sasaki that actually he was meant to kind of like almost sacrifice the Shinzogumi, and what happens was through this like kind of assassination of the Hitsubashi family, they would have to escort the Hitsubashi family along these things, but that's what they've been told. But in theory, what happens is they have to actually like kind of assassination kind of take place, and then they have to take like the mantle for it. In theory, then murder themselves, and then yeah, basically no Shinsengumi, because at this point the Shinsengumi is about to be reformed, or about to be formed. So it's kind of like, okay, alright, that took me about 15 rewatches to actually understand what he was trying to do then. I was kind of like, ah, okay. Then what happened was, Sasaki kind of went against those orders, like against like the Naraku kind of orders, and said, no, okay. Because we actually kind of get through flashbacks who Mokuro actually is, or Nabume as I'm going to call her now, because I actually finally know why they call him Nabume. It's kind of like, oh, it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of depressing when you think about it. But yeah, so you actually finally find out about these characters who, and one of them is Mokuro. You actually find out that actually she's like one of the 3 big assassins of the Naraku, because she was taken in as a young child, and then basically raised to be a killer. So yeah, what happens is that he defies his orders and lets them kind of pseudo live and carry on. So what happens is Sasaki's kind of like, no, I don't really want the Shinzugumi to die at this point. So he kind of has some pseudo humanity to him. And then what happens is, it's actually his undoing. Him actually allowing them to carry on, basically leaking the information to the rebels, so the rebels could attack first instead of the actual assassins. He actually then, in theory, kind of, it was his undoing in the end. It was actually his undoing, because what happened was his whole family had died, because through his kind of emails, I would say texts, but it's through emails, we basically get a gist of his family, in a sense. He's basically got a wife who's just going to have back to, like, bear a child. Kind of like, okay. I saw at that point, I was like, when I saw the like kind of emails, it had like his wife in it. I was kind of like, she's gonna die, isn't she? I was sitting there going, I can see this coming from Marley, because I've got this instinct now after reading a lot of manga and watching a lot of anime that has like these kind of death scenes in it, that I kind of actually understand that when it's actually shown, I'm like, it's gonna die. And what happens is, yeah, that undoing is basically what happens is his whole family dies. I was kind of like, oh, my heart. So, and I like the fact when we ran up and saw Mokuro just standing on top of that, and basically he just said at that point in the ball, I was kind of like, oh, okay. It's kind of like when she turned around at that point, it's kind of like, ah, I get it now. And then basically what happens is he kind of then sees it, and basically in a fit of rage starts almost killing Mokuro, and then basically what happens is she starts to cry, and then she's basically, you realise she's not just a killing machine, she has humanity to her. It's kind of like, good job they can tell me, you actually gave humanity to what was a killing machine. She actually has humanity, because basically what happened is Shoyo taught her before that actually there is like he was teaching her like emotion that she lacks, the knowledge that she lacks. So basically she said that she has to kind of combat her weaknesses, and since we're born to develop weaknesses, but it's kind of our duty to kind of like combat these weaknesses. So basically what happens is, at that point Sasaki doesn't actually murder her. He says, okay, this is my vengeance, you have to like fight for my, you have to fight for me. And basically at the point where I want you to actually murder me in the end, I was kind of like, okay. So what happened was, on the island, he instigated the whole rebellion, getting everyone on the island, the Naraku, the Shinzogumi, the Jerry Rebels, so basically he could end that era, in a sense he could, in theory, murder everyone on that island. And then basically what happens is, yeah, he could end what he couldn't protect, in a sense he could end that era, end the Shinzogumi, end the Jerry Rebels, and end the actual Naraku. It's kind of like, okay, when you get the knowledge of that, and you kind of do like the backstory of that, it's kind of like, you kind of understand more what's going to happen, and I kind of like, yeah, okay, so I kind of understood basically through Noburo, because he should become Noburo by this point. Like, he does, I'd be seriously pissed. He kind of says, like, he doesn't kind of want to have position or like kind of power. He basically just wants to weaken the country. He doesn't kind of want to do anything besides kind of instigate rebellion, basically end everything, end this country, end everything, basically end that era. That's kind of like, okay, I like it. It gave us enough backstory to actually realize what his true intentions are. So basically, he actually snaked us all along. He snaked us. He wasn't technically a bad guy, but his intentions, the way he went about it, wasn't actually true. He kind of just he didn't have very good intentions. That's what I'm trying to say. He didn't really have those intentions that could say, Jesus Christ, all right, he's a good character, because he didn't. So I'm like, okay. So he didn't want for political power. I kind of already saw coming that he didn't really want to go there just for said reason that he wants to actually kind of have power. He just kind of want to have power in this whole thing. He just basically wants to instigate rebellion for his own kind of desires. And it was revealed in this episode that actually, yeah, it's his desires. It's kind of like, okay, all right, I get it. So basically, and I'm thinking now, Mokuno crying on the boom, crying at the end. I thought maybe that's kind of like an inkling to basically say if he dies, because at that point in the top he's kind of like bleeding out, like he's about to die, like he's bleeding out. It's kind of like if she can't get up to him now, she's not fulfilling her duty. She can't actually murder him. It's kind of like, okay, all right. So next episode's gonna be freaking depressing, because basically I feel like he's gonna die. She won't be able to fulfill her duties, and basically she's going to blame herself for it. That's how I see it's going to happen. I'm just an anime only watcher that had actually go read extensively into the backstory just to understand what the hell was going on. Because it was one of those episodes that I was like, okay, alright. It's confusing me a little bit. I was kind of like, what's going on here? And I read into it, kind of read extensively into like the backstories of Mokuro, Sasaki, and also most of the characters and why they were there. And afterwards, you kind of understand why. That's what I'm trying to understand. You understand why. It's kind of like, it's a really freaking interesting backstory. It's one of the most interesting backstories I had the liberty of reading, in a sense. I'm kind of glad I actually did, because it just gave me more, like, kind of clarity with his character, in a sense. He was a surface snake on the Gintama universe. He wasn't actually a bad guy. He's just his intentions, the way he went about things just made him seem like a bad guy. Because I kind of see like the same thing with, I just don't know. It's just, I don't want to see him die now. It's a problem. I don't really want to see him die. If I see his true intentions, I don't really want to see him die. His vengeance is basically to end everyone on that island. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen next, but anyway. Next week's going to be a doozy. So, what's going to be a driver? If you live like, do leave a like, subscribe, leave a sub, to like quite a bit. But what's going to be a driver? And it's later. Bye for now.